Alright, so here we have the new motor from DYS. This is the new Samguk series motors, and these were sent in by DYS, so thank you for sending them so I can test them and share the results with you guys. This is the one they sent me, the WEI 2207 2300 kV motor. So this one's a sort of a low kV for today's standards, but it's gonna be interesting to see how this performs and how it compares to other 2207s. And I'll see if I put it on 5S with the 5043 prop, see what kind of numbers we get. So they ship it in this just a normal cardboard box, nothing fancy, because this is it's gonna be a low budget motor which is selling for about 10 bucks, so that's a pretty affordable price. And it just comes modestly packaged, just the motor itself, matching nylock, and oh, nice touch, they do give you some extra circlips, a couple of 3 circlips extra, so that's a nice touch in case you those go flying off if you take them off. And just some standard M3x6 mounting screws, so these are labeled, kind of nice touch. And so here's the motor. As you can see, pretty nice finish on the motor. They went with the naked bottom and single piece shaft, and so this shaft is it is magnetic, so that's hardened steel. Winding seems to be multi-strand wire, and the shaft through the motor is a solid shaft, and that looks like a 3mm shaft. Yeah, that's a 3mm shaft. The shaft is only partially hollow, just by a little bit, just where the thread is. And of course they wouldn't hollow it all the way through, because that's only a 3mm shaft, so that's kind of difficult to hollow a 3mm shaft. Usually you'll only see it on 4mm shafts. So once we remove the circlip, we can take that out, but let's weigh this thing. It does come with a nice length of wire. This is 20 gauge wire, so standard thickness, standard gauge for this size motor. It is about 155mm worth of wire, so that's plenty of wire to get you to the center mounted ESCs. Alright, so I'll weight the motor with the full length of wires. It comes from the factory, and that's 35.3. So if we remove the wire so that it's only 50mm left, then that's 2.7 minus so 2.7, so that'll be around 32.6. 32.6, not too bad for a 2207 budget 2207 motor at 32.6 grams. That's pretty reasonable weight, not too bad. It's not overly heavy, not overly light either, so that, you know, for the price I think that's a reasonable weight. Couldn't expect like a super light motor for that price, you know. You'd have to use a titanium shaft. I don't know what type of aluminum, they haven't specified yet, so if it's 6061 or 7075, but anyways, pretty good weight on this motor. So let's put it on their magnifying glass and let's see what it looks like up close. Alright, so here's a close-up of the air gap on the motor. So you can see it's pretty decent. It's not sloppy large, you know, and it's not overly tight either. So pretty good, pretty standard. Magnets seem to be just blocky magnets. They're not doesn't look like they're arc magnets. So, you know, pretty much in line with construction of a budget motor. And multi-strand wire that you can see there. So let's pull this apart. I removed the circlip. Also, no mention on the type of magnet, so I don't know if these are N52 or N48s. They certainly felt kind of strong as I pulled it, so they could be N52s, although I'm just guessing. And that's a 3mm shaft. It is a single piece shaft, so that's good. You know, a lot of people prefer these because they won't cross thread, and you won't lose the thread over time. So a pretty nice finish for a budget motor, I would say. Of course, only abuse will really show how durable these motors are. They're brand new, so we don't yet know how well these will stand up to abuse, you know, crashes and all that. So hopefully the shaft is really good hardened steel, and it's not gonna bend easily. And also hopefully the bearings stand up to abuse. A lot of times these budget motors, of course, they have to cut costs somewhere, so hopefully they didn't cut cost on the bearings, because sometimes that's the first thing to go. So we'll hear soon how these stand up to abuse. The stator looks okay. It's multi-strand wire, and those are just standard bearings for 3mm shaft. They're 3x8x3. So it's 16x16. I think that's what people are preferring these days, just 16x16. Hopefully that becomes standard in all motors. And let's measure the stator height. That should be 7mm, and it looks like 0.15 lamination, so yeah, that's right about 7mm. Alright, so we'll put this together and get it on the thrust stand and see how it compares to other 2207s. Alright, so let's have a quick look at the thrust test results for the new motor from DYS, the Samguk series, WEY 2207-2300 kV. As you saw, the motor measure at almost exactly the spec kV 2300, pretty much. So I went ahead and tested on 4S and 5S based on that kV value,
and the usual props, 5-inch props and a couple of the 6-inchers. So starting with the classic Genfan 5045, pretty respectable thrust for this KV. You gotta keep in mind this is probably now considered low KV. Most people are running 24 to 2700 kV these days, so 2300 is kind of low, I guess, for most people. But still, this is one of the most versatile and efficient KVs. I think you could possibly run 6S now with all these new VL-Heli S and VL-Heli 32 ESCs. But anyway, on 5S, 5043x3, pretty respectable output, 1700 grams at a very reasonable 41 amps, so that's pretty manageable, I think. So that'll be easy on LiPos. Keep in mind these are static max numbers, so the amps are a little bit exaggerated in actual flight. This will be a lot lower, in the order of 35 to even 40% lower, and these are only a momentary burst, so you'll only see them for a couple of seconds at most under certain conditions, like on punch outs or quick 180 turns. The rest of the time, even at full throttle, it'll be a lot lower, so pretty manageable, I think. So don't be too scared about these high amps in any of my tests. That's kind of normal for static. As we move on to the more aggressive props, the 5046 and 5045x3 props, kind of reaching 1400 grams right there. Still, the amps are very reasonable, only 36 amps. And as we move on to the 6-inch props, it surpassing the 1600 and almost 1700 grams. Pretty good amps as well. So as you can see, this is actually a very low budget motor. It's only about $10, but it's performing pretty well actually for this KV. It should compare pretty well with other 2207s of the same KV, regardless of the price of the motor. It should be very comparable. Hopefully the EYS will send me the other versions, the higher KV of this motor, so I can also test it and see how it compares with motors of that same KV and that same size. Also, hopefully they'll send me the other sizes, the 2306 I believe is the other one. So pretty interesting motors, low budget, but they're performing pretty well. Let's hope that they're durable and reliable. Sometimes, the low budget motors, they always have to cut costs somewhere, so hopefully they didn't cut too much cost and the motor turns out to be a pretty durable motor. Hopefully the bearings withstand the abuse. The bearings and the shaft is usually the parts that get messed up when we crash. So we'll see how it stands up to the abuse, and I'm sure we'll see reports. But so far the motor looks pretty promising, as you can see from these thrust test results on this low KV motor. Alright, that was the review for this new motor from the EYS, the Sam Gook Way. Thanks for watching, and until the next video.